So Ash Sarkar went on BBC Politics Live and debated with Tory MP Gareth Davis and Labour MP Andrew Peaks on Gaza, and we're going to live react to it.
Let's be clear, hostages and Palestinians have been through 14 months of living hell. The only thing we should be talking about is how do we get the rest of the hostages out and Palestinians, ordinary Palestinians, back into Gaza. Question for me, and the British government's been really clear on this is the right for Palestinians to go back to their homes, and how we get the world community working together to put the money in there to rebuild Gaza. There's no sustainable peace unless we have economic investment in Gaza to rebuild the homes, the schools, the houses, to give stability for Palestinians who have it is their homeland, and we need to get people back there safely.
Okay, so how are you going to do that when Donald Trump just literally said, we are going to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians? So when asked about will Palestinians be allowed to return, he said, why would they want to return? Why? And he's basically saying, get them out of there, rebuild it up, and America then just essentially owns it, turns it into some sort of, I don't know, Mar-a-Lago in Gaza, and will allow all Israelis to go in there. Labour's position on this is different to Donald Trump. So how are you going to work at that contradiction if, one, you won't even call it an ethnic cleansing, and two, Labour Party under Keir Starmer are utterly weak. They have zero backbone, and they're not going to stand up to Trump, are they?
I don't think it is for one country to dictate terms in this way, but we'll look very carefully at all proposals, and I think it's for this government to engage.
That translates to, we're not going to put up a fight against Daddy Trump. That's literally what it is.
With the administration, but also to determine what role the UK can play in the reconstruction of Gaza.
I'm sorry, I was just listening to you both speak, and it's like we've got two of the three monkeys. You've got see no evil, we've got hear no evil. Neither one of you are using the words which are relevant to this proposal, which is what is on the table is ethnic cleansing. When you are talking about the permanent resettlement of an entire ethnic group from the place they call home, that's called ethnic cleansing. And instead it's like, oh, what about the hostages? Oh, what about investment? I'm sorry, it's like Westminster is on the slow train and you're not keeping up with the pace of change.
Although this has come as something of a surprise to most people, I would have thought, since it's a dramatic change of policy.
It's a dramatic change of policy, but I think that the signs have been there for a long time. One is that the position of the Israeli government and the ruling Likud party has been to talk about resettling Gaza, and that's been from early in 2024. Secondly...
So first of all, Ash is dropping facts, but also she absolutely ripped those MPs to their faces. But she makes a really important point here, which is that, and it quite literally proves a point that it's see no evil, hear no evil from MPs and the media, because Joe Coburn goes, well, it's a dramatic change in policy. And it's like, well, technically, yes, from Donald Trump and the US government, but the policy of resettling Palestinians has always been the case. Like, is your head stuck in the ground? Israeli politicians have been saying for years that they want to ethnically cleanse Gaza. They literally want to resettle them. Like, you can find open statements from the top Israeli officials and politicians. So, like, we all knew this. How do we know about it? Like, at Turn Left, we're still voluntary. We don't get paid for this. How can we know that? But high-level journalists, well-paid journalists are like, oh my God, I'm so shocked that Donald Trump is saying that we should, she won't use the term ethnically cleanse, but wants to do that. That's a dramatic change in policy. It's not a change in policy. It's the policy of Netanyahu it's the policy he's always wanted.
You've got the ramping up of rhetoric around the annexation of the West Bank and the escalation of violence being perpetrated by the Israeli state with the cooperation of the Palestinian Authority, it must be said.
So what would what would you expect the British Prime Minister to do or say at this point?
Well, I expect Keir Starmer to do fuck all, but, it'd be interesting to hear what Ash says.
So the first thing is that we need a total arms embargo on Israel. While we supply a small portion of the weapons that are used by Israel, I think it sends an important signal. Two, I think we need to commit to holding Netanyahu and his government to account for the war crimes that they have perpetuated. And thirdly, I think that one of the things that needs to happen is you need to look at things like boycotts, divestment and sanctions.
All right, well,
when you've got a government which is planning on committing ethnic cleansing, you need to punish them.
Yep, Ash is bang on there. We need BDS, boycotts, divestment, sanctions. We need to actually hold Israeli politicians to account. Remember, there is an arrest warrant out for Benjamin Netanyahu. we could actually just enact that and try and arrest him. But of course, the West aren't going to do that. The US aren't going to do that. And essentially what Ash is calling for Keir Starmer to do is kind of wishful thinking. And she knows that herself because Starmer's not going to be strong on this at all. Ash absolutely ripped those MPs. But we have another clip from Politics Live, and it's just between Ash Sarkar and Tory MP Gareth Davis, where he basically puts out all the BS talking points that we've heard for over a year now.
Palestinians being held in military detention.
Because these people were just going around about their lives. They were captured in the most horrific...
Already within seconds, he's doing it started on the 7th of October. I can't believe that we still have MPs or people at this stage still pushing this talking point. It's been it's been a year and a half since the 7th of October. And obviously what we've seen since then has been a genocide and ethnic cleansing. And all of the extreme policy proposals, whether it's Trump essentially saying we should move everyone out of Gaza, all the Palestinians out of Gaza, and all the insane Zionist smears, we still have people saying, well, it started on the 7th of October. Obviously, Ash is going to rebut that because she's actually smart and intelligent.
Of circumstances, and I will never, ever stop apologising.
Just factually, it didn't start on October 7th. Before October 7th occurred, it had been one of the deadliest years for Palestinians in their history in terms of Palestinians being killed at the hands of Israeli security forces.
The terrorist attack that happened on the
Nobody
October 7th,
is excusing it. I am just making
that.
a point of fact. You said this started on October 7th. That is simply not true.
Facts don't care about your feelings. And before the 7th of October, Ash is right, it was the deadliest year for Palestinians. So Israel has been ramping up its aggression year on year on year before the terrorist attack. And to turn around and say, well, are you just making excuses for Hamas? No, that is literally just laying out the facts. No one excuses killing innocent people. But I say this again, October 7th wouldn't have happened if Israel wasn't an apartheid state, if Israel wasn't occupying land that wasn't theirs and slaughtering Palestinians, slaughtering children, slaughtering babies. It wouldn't have happened. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. And of course, Zionists want to tell you that there's some sort of evilness within Palestinian society and essentially dog whistle their way through Islamophobia. That's what they want to say. Oh, it's not to do with the material conditions and living in an open-air prison or an occupied territory. Oh, it's nothing to do with that. It's just simply that Palestinians are violent.
But the 7th was the day that we saw Hamas,
The 7th of October was the day. The way they've manufactured this narrative that this is this special day. This is it, nothing else matters. The BBC is doing it even when they're supposed to be impartial.
That was the day that they went in, they breached the security and they took hostages and they murdered over 1,000 people.
And not just murdered, they've tortured them. They've taken little babies away from their families. They've separated families.
Israel has done the same thing. Israel has taken hostages. Israel have killed babies. Israel raped Palestinian prisoners on camera, and the person that did the raping, was he put away in prison for committing a crime? No, he was actually on Israeli national TV. He was lauded. What they're trying to do here is create this emotive argument. Joe Coburn is going, they were murdered. And then this guy, Gareth Davis, is saying, and not just that, they were tortured, really using emotive language whilst ignoring all of the human rights abuses that Israel does. I will say it again, the IDF raped Palestinian prisoners on camera, and instead of punishment, an IDF soldier was lauded on TV.
It is absolutely abhorrent, and we should condemn that in the strongest of
Nobody
terms.
here is defending war crimes or attacks on civilians. Absolutely nobody, certainly not me. If you're going to criticise Hamas for tearing apart families...
We should all be criticising Hamas. We should all be criticising Hamas.
Let me just finish my sentence. If you're going to criticise Hamas for torture, you must also criticise Israel, who has a massive system of military detention in which Palestinians, including women, including minors, are held without charge and have reported torture.
Support independent media. Support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.